Hello and welcome to a new review. Today we have this Sony TC-K81, a deck from the year 1980 and 1981. This was a top of the line deck. At the moment it doesn't look very complicated inside, but certainly its features are expensive. And this is a two solenoid mechanism. We have this motor for every function except fast forward and rewind. This motor is exclusively for fast forward and rewind. This motor has two belts, a pulley that drives two belts, one for this clutch to take up for the take-up reel in play mode, and the other belt for the double capstan you can see here. And there are two solenoids that trigger this other part of the mechanisms. You can see there are some dented wheels, teeth wheels, and those move the head block up and down. The motor is a special motor. I haven't seen motors like this one. It looks like a normal motor. Here is its circuit, but the shape and the dimensions of it are a bit strange to me. Then we have the circuit of the audio. This board is the audio board. We have the front panel auxiliary circuits, probably volume and so on, and maybe equalizations and view meter and so on. And then we have the power supply and the logic board. It's amazing to see that they are actually quite small and simple, and later models started to make large circuits for power supplies and for everything. But this deck isn't that populated. Okay, we have two outputs, one fixed and one variable, and one line input. And everything else is quite... We'll take a look at the eject mechanism. This dampens the movement. The mechanism itself is quite easy to work. We're going to have a look at the mechanism first before we describe its features. And I removed the door, the inner plate, and we can see that there's a play mode in which this wheel you've seen before, that I told it was a clutch, drives this wheel, and this wheel itself drives the take-up reel. It has a belt connected to the counter, and that's how the play works. But when we fast forward or rewind, you can see that there are some movements in the mechanism that are made by the main belt and the capstan attached wheels, but the rotation of the take-up is made by the motor here. Okay, so let's describe the features now. It's a two double capstan, we can see them there, 3-head deck. The head itself is very large, you can see it, very large. This head is in very good shape. Sounds beautiful, this unit. And well, the deck has the usual power on, eject and timer in one side. There's a special connector for the remote, which I don't have. The tape deck counter, the memory button, and the pick holder. Let's play. So if you press this button, the peak is held for a second or so, and if you press the manual button, you release this button, and then the peak metering is held until you press this again. So you manually restore the peak. These two modes to set the calibration easier, the functions, and then this deck has Dolby, just Dolby B. By default it has a filter to prevent high frequencies from the radio to get into the circuit of the Dolby, and then you have equalization and bias independently. This was only found in decks of a certain period, and this is one of them. You can calibrate the equalization, you can set equalization of the tape, especially when you're going to record, but also when you want to play, and you can set the bias. So in this deck you can set a high bias for the metal tape, for example, but a normal equalization, like if you were going to play it later in a deck that doesn't have a metal equalization. This was strange to find, it's a rare feature. Later decks had only one selector to set the bias and the equalization depending just on the tape. You could have a fine-tuning equalization or bias then, but it was a fine-tuning, not like this one. You have very big differences in equalization and bias. You can, with these small knobs, set the bias calibration and the recording level. And then you have the master input level. You can select whether to record from line or from this input microphone inputs. And you have also a calibration, a help calibration. Let's record. So now I'm recording, and when you put this in bias, you see two levels. I don't know exactly what they are. I suspect that one is high frequencies and the other is low frequency, and it looks like, I think, my intuition tells me that this is a right calibration, but I don't really know the meaning of these lights at this moment, these levels. But when you set it to rig level, now you see that, well, this tape almost reaches 0 dBs. It's a bit below, but mostly near it, so the tape itself is in good shape, and probably this tape needs a higher recording level, which I'm turning a bit now to set the exact proper bias. Okay, so once check this, the last feature we have to talk about is that the line out and headphones has a knob, but this knob has just 5 positions. You select 0 decibels, 3, 6, 12 or 24, and that sets the level, and the level is not continuously variable, just these 5 positions. So this is the beautiful TC-K81.